And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And together, we review what's trending in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to not only get along, but to be able to debate like normal human beings when we don't agree. Because remember, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, bro?
Good day, sir. How are you doing today?
You opened a fucking can of worm.
Oh, brother.
Just so you guys know, the main subject that we're talking about today is a subject that, for Rob, it's transgenderism that really gets him going. Me, it's anything political related, but especially this. This is something I've been talking about. Oh, it's something I've been talking about for almost a year now, where it's becoming absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it's not just in Canada, right? I posted a video. I posted the same video you sent me yesterday, or this morning. Sorry, I posted it. I did kind of a reel with it on our YouTube channel, and it's just ding, 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 ding. It's just getting views, 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 and
people are pretty upset about this.
Well, and what's interesting is that I've had multiple comments from Americans saying, "Hey, you guys are fucked in Canada." Sorry, bro. Even here in Alabama, of all fucking places, last year I wanted to do some street interviews, and there was a Free Palestine protest that was literally blocking a square, one of the busiest, right in front of City Hall in Huntsville, arguably the biggest city in Alabama outside of Birmingham. I think Birmingham and
this is Alabama.
Alabama, where there's more fucking churches than corner stores in Canada. And the police, bro, I remember I was there. That's the funniest thing. I was there to ask people if they believed in God. And my wife and I see that. She's like, yeah, we should. She's like, you can't go there. You can't go there. As in, your big fucking mouth is going to get you in trouble again. So don't go there. Yeah. But I went to speak to the police officers. They're just standing by. And I'm like, hey, I'm from Canada. We're here on vacation, blah, blah, blah. What do you guys think about that? They're like, can't talk. They know they can't talk. They know they cannot talk. But if you guys haven't figured it out yet, or you haven't read the massive title right there, or even the question that's at the bottom, we're talking about the video that's going viral on X and Instagram, because I've seen it on both platforms.
It's big.
The video, yeah. Oh, I'm surprised though, because I've been talking about this forever. There's other videos that are way worse, like I'm going to show you today. There's way worse videos than that one. But the point in the matter is that it's going viral, and I'm happy because it gives me an opportunity to speak about it. I was just waiting for this. So we got a video of, obviously, that we were going to show you, but yeah, a video of Muslims blocking. So as I was looking at this morning, and as I was explaining to you on the WhatsApp this morning, I'm like, okay, so I lived in Toronto. I know that Yonge and Bloor are two of the busiest streets. Yonge is considered the busiest street in Toronto. Bloor second, and the intersection of them is considered the busiest intersection because the two main lines of their trains, they meet there. Okay. So we're talking about Toronto being the biggest city in Canada. So if they are at the busiest intersection, the largest city in Canada, they are literally blocking the busiest intersection in Canada.
And that's intentional.
We're not talking a fucking
symbolic.
Of course it is. It's a flex. They're just like, flex. This is what we're capable of doing.
And fuck you, you're not going to do a goddamn thing. And that's the angle we're going to go into it. And it's interesting that you brought that up, sort of like how, this has happened before, because I feel like it's a good, like, for me, this has been the journey for me on this, because I've seen it before too. But something about last night just really made it feel different. It slapped to me. Like,
why, right?
I think just because Well, let's hear your take. I think it's just because it just sort of became clear to me that this is a trend now. This is something that's real and not just like a one-off that might have happened once or twice. But what are you going to say?
Because you spent too much time with me.
I mean, possibly.
Because we talk about this shit but we talk.
Yeah.
There's a difference between seeing it every now and then and talking about this type of stuff every single day. You're get right. Very aware of what's going on, because at the end, this is becoming your job. This is becoming like, I research this shit 4 or 5 hours a day. So for me, I can attack any political conversation you want to have, because I'm always looking at what's trending, what people are talking about, and what's happening in the news. So this is, I think, is what's going on, is just awareness.
Yeah. Once you see it, once you're aware of a pattern, then you see it a lot more, where, it's kind of like, the
yellow car, the yellow bug car.
I was just going to say, like, I thought last car I bought was a Hyundai Kona. And when I bought it, I was like, I didn't even know there was a car called a Kona. But then after I bought it, I saw them everywhere, right? It's just that once you're aware of it, you see it. And I think it is something like that. But it's going to, that's the angle we're going to talk. We're not just going to kind of talk about like this one thing. We're going to dig really deep into it. And we're going to sort of show or make the case that this is an important phenomenon that's happening in the West, and it's something we really need to keep an eye on. I don't care if you're right or left. Before we do start, we'll just take our comments.
But hold on, before we do, keep that in mind. That, do you think that it's a coincidence that those type of things are happening in Canada and allowed to happen, and in the US as well, but especially in Canada? And then you have a new prime minister that is very friendlies with the UK and France, which they've been invaded by.
UK is ground zero for this.
But this is my point, right? So this is something that is very prevalent in Europe, especially UK and France. And now you have a prime minister that'd rather do business with them than with the US. See, this is my point, right? And this is always what I want to do with people's mind, is just, if you step back and you start looking at everything that's going on, and you start just trying to, you build some columns and you start putting shit in, like, just, oh, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. You just say, I don't like where this is going.
A pattern is starting to emerge. And guys, as you look, that's the angle we're going to take on this issue. So, sort of strap in and get comfortable, because we're really going to take a deep dive into it.
Strap in, all right, because we're going
strap in, strap on. we're going.
No, we're
strapped on this issue.
We're strapped in. We're going balls deep. We're going first reference to penises of the show, and we are 8 minutes in.
we can't stop ourselves.
Nope.
Prairie, good morning to you. Tony G, morning, fellas. Good morning,
bro. Don't change your picture on your page. It fucks with my head.
Oh yeah, because we go by
yesterday.
By
yesterday he was like cool on his knees in front of a cool background. Don't fuck with our heads, bro.
Jason, how's it going, brother? And as Jason, he always reminds us to remind you guys, do not forget to smash that like button if you like what you hear. And even if you don't like what you hear, hit it anyways, because why not, right?
And comment.
One thing,
comment. If you don't like it, comment.
We want to hear it.
If you really like it, share the stream.
Yep, absolutely. We want to hear, we want to hear everyone's takes. Both Nico and I, obviously we have a high opinion of our own opinions, but we're also aware we could be wrong sometimes. So we're gonna, that's what this show is all about. Prairie, do you think the cops are afraid of a lawsuit in regards to religion? We're gonna touch on that for sure.
Take this one.
Oh geez, if you guys start making eye contact, I'm out. Yeah, no worries, Prairie. No worries. That's before the show. That's when we make our eye contact.
Or Prairie, look at me. Don't worry. We're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. But you know what's funny? My wife this morning, we're talking about exactly that expression, and she's like, that should become your tagline. We have to somehow make it.
Don't make eye contact.
Political orphans. No eye contact allowed.
No eye contact allowed. Jason, I don't know about the UK and Canada, but in the USA, nothing happens without our government knowing.
Yeah, nothing happens there.
Yeah. So far, I mean, like you said, clearly in Alabama, it is happening, but we I don't think the USA is nearly as bad as the UK and now Canada.
Well, and the thing is that the difference between the UK, Canada, and the US is that it's the split. If you look at the US, split it in half, like Virginia height, go west to east to west, everything above, very similar to Canada, very acceptable to do the same thing. In the South, that type of shit does not stand the same, especially, you know what it would take for, in Alabama, for example, for me to just get a bunch of Christians and go do the same, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we could do counter protests.
You probably could do it in Alabama.
It's just, oh yeah. It's just there would be a massive response if they did it to the scale that we're talking about here.
Yep. Tony says, sorry guys, my YouTube and X profile is different. He's not locked out of his X account. Hey, congrats, buddy. You got
that's back your X.
Yeah, because remember he was saying yesterday he was kicked out of his X.
So he's penetrated his X account again. Good for you.
Staring is okay, but anything longer than 7 seconds, that's invasion privacy. It's funny how Jason keeps moving the bar, right? First it was no eye contact. Now it's like, okay, eye contact, but only 7 seconds. And soon it'll be like, let's just, full penetration. That's all cool.
But you know what, man?
Jason's got an agenda for sure.
But the thing is I'm French. There's no limits.
That's
the thing, right?
Excuse, right?
It's just like you can I'm not gay. I'm just French.
I'm French. Come on. It's funny how if you actually said that, people would be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get it."
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you know what? Yep. Well, it's like you. People might think you're gay, but you're just metrosexual, right? Right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it once or twice.
Of course you have. You've been approached by guys before. If I've been approached by dudes before, you've been approached by.
Oh yeah.
And they think you're a bottom. They think you're a bottom.
No. The bottoms approach me, brother. The bottoms approach me. They're like, now that's the top. I'm like, sorry, fellas. Sorry. We'll try it once, and then, but as long as we don't make eye contact, that's
hey. So boy, already many gay comments, many penises references and penetration. This is how we roll on the. This is how we roll on the Christian network.
Yes, on the Political Orphans. Yeah. This is why. I mean, you're obviously a Christian and you're open about that, but I feel like you'd never be able to do.
They don't like. I don't know, but Christians don't like my content at all because of the type of. Just listen to the first 12 minutes of this show and you'll understand why they don't like my content.
So, but I think. Do you want to jump into it now?
100%. I would happily penetrate the first video. So yes.
All right, we'll go balls deep in the first one. So
we go balls deep.
Before you do that, I'm just.
You tell me to go, but you're not ready. What the fuck?
Well, just lube it up and get ready, and then I'll let you know.
I raw dog dry, bro.
Yeah, raw dog after the wine tasting.
Hey,
Harry Sisson. Okay, so now that we've got that out of our system, we're actually we're gonna do a complete 180 and talk about some serious stuff. And I actually, I've been going over my rant for this, and I'm sure that the vibe will change as we go because it's actually not. Like we were talking this morning, I was up pretty late last night. Like I don't know what it was. Like I tweeted about this last night.
Just bothered 11. You.
And it bothered me. And like I said, like I've seen it before. I've seen these things, but something about it felt like, okay, now I guess I just saw the pattern now. I was like, okay, this isn't just a one-off. This isn't a thing. Yeah. This is a thing that they're doing that is being done right under our noses. Now, before we actually get to the video, I think it's important. I want to talk a little bit about, we talk a lot on this show, a lot about, woke, we'll use that word, or identity politics. And I think both those things are pretty vague and lots of people have different definitions, but I think I'd like to explain what I mean by that first, and then that will be the segue to actually start watching this, because I think.
But if you look at the ideology is the same, like the way they're pushing their agenda is exact. They don't believe in the same thing. So saying that I don't mean that the ideology is the same. The methods that they're using is the same.
And that's what we're talking about.
100%. To me, and this is why I've been talking about this, is because they're using the same tactics as the woke left has been using. They're using Marxist tactics against us, and they're not stupid. Let's be fucking clear here.
Absolutely.
Of course. They're not fucking stupid. Don't underestimate people you don't agree with because you think it doesn't make sense to you. Exactly. Don't think that they're stupid. They ain't fucking stupid. They ain't stupid, okay? They ain't
stupid. So just for probably more of our left-leaning audience, because you will hear this a lot on the left, like, oh, woke is just being kind or having empathy, and that is not it. So anyone who tells you that, yeah, they'll tell you that, but that's not what it is. Okay, so what we mean when we talk about identity politics, we are talking about a worldview that has basically taken over the left over the last 20 years, and because the left has been culturally dominant, that worldview has metastasized and spread throughout all of society. Now, what this worldview is, it is a fundamentally anti-human or dehumanizing worldview where every single person is stripped of everything that makes them unique or special or the things that matter, their character, their personality, their behavior. None of that matters. All that matters, they're distilled down to their identity traits, their superficial identity traits, the things we can't control, our race, our gender, our sexuality, even our religion, right? So once it does that, once it strips every human being down to our identity traits, it then ranks these identity groups. And there are favored identity groups and there are non-favored groups. And everybody knows what we're talking about. We don't have to go down the big list. This is just a summary. But in the context of this discussion, it's important to know that Muslims, according to the woke hierarchy of oppression, are at the very top of the list. If not very top, I'd say second. Trans is probably first. But what happens then is when
Muslims are right up there.
Oh, fuck yeah. You can't beat that. That's like the super boss, right? Yep. And what happens is once they've done this, they've distilled us down to our immutable traits and they've ranked us according to favored and unfavored groups. If you're a favored group, you get away with whatever the fuck you want. Nobody will say anything. And if you're an unfavored group, you can't do anything. Everything will come down on you. So this is the perspective that I want you to think of it. Think of this issue through, because as we go through it, a lot of this stuff will make a lot more sense, and you will too see the pattern here, and you will probably understand why it is so dangerous. So with that intro, Nico, could you first play the first clip?
So can we go? You're done now?
I'm done with that. Yeah.
Okay. You sure?
And and then I've got the rant right after the video that this show is better than therapy. Because if I didn't have this, my girlfriend is probably so thrilled that I have it. Because if I didn't have this show, I'd be ranting to her.
You're welcome. It's the same for my wife, but the only difference is my wife is so close that she hears everything. So I don't know what's worse, me ranting to her or just her like, oh Jesus,
no escape.
So you want to play the video, or you want to take a few comments because the comments are piling up already?
Okay, so let's hit the comments and then we'll go into the video.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Okay, so Rob Rourke, do you remember Rob before, or is this your first time? If it's your first time commenting, welcome. We love seeing new audience members. Love that you guys are commenting. He says they're doing it by design, in my opinion, to show intimidation and dominance. Yep, you are absolutely. That is exactly the angle. Yep. They can and should pray in their mosque only. A PPC government will make that shit law. Max Bernier is tired of this BS too. Deportations will come swiftly. And
thanks for plugging your political party in there, bro. Good job. Oh man, just hey, good job. Yeah, it's he plugged it in just like Jason did yesterday for his podcast. His new book is whatever he's working on. Yeah.
Rob again, exactly. Marxist methods this is your comment to say that they're using the same methods, and they learn from the woke left, right?
They're not stupid.
So yeah,
I don't think they're learning. No, I think this is where you're incorrect. They're not learning from the left. This is something that they've been doing forever. They just take advantage of the fact that the left are in power in order to do it, because they know that the left is tolerant and they will allow this type of behavior. And not only will they allow it, but they will call people like me racist or xenophobe or whatever the fuck term you want to put on it, because I will point out the hypocrisy. This is what they're doing. They're literally using the left, saying, you know what, they're there. Let's just use them to our advantage. And that's all they're doing.
Yep. No, exactly. Couldn't agree more. And like you said, it's not, yeah, they've been doing this long before the woke left became a thing, but it's just the woke left gave them some new ammunition.
Oh,
they're the ones
the door's wide open.
Yeah.
And the left are protecting that door from people like me.
Absolutely. Rob continues, exactly. Marxist methods to bring in global communist order that allows Sharia law to be the law of the land. That's not a conspiracy theory. Like most Muslims, if you look at the polling for what they want about Sharia law, and Sharia law, it's like a weaponized term. It kind of is used as a boogeyman by both the right and left. It's just law based on Islamic principles. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. It's not some, so they most Muslims will say, I think the polling's like 70%, and that's just Western Muslims. They want Sharia law. They think that is the way to do it, and that is what these things are intended to do. And we're going to get into all that as we discuss. Jason says that is what woke as a definition turned into. The Black community doesn't know whether to laugh or shake their damn heads. Yeah, I agree. I understand the way woke first
again with this, Jason. But get over it. I use the word woke all the time.
Yeah, definitions change. That is just the way that the definition is today. Rob again. So the reward for helping with the global takeover is that they get to be the global law of the lands in the West. Destruction of Christian nations, Sharia law to govern all under the ruling class. It's hard, not to or it's hard to disagree with anything you're saying. Rob says, no, I watch all the time. Oh, well, thank you for that. Maybe it's just I haven't recognized your name in the comments. But please keep on commenting, because as you know, this show is built on audience participation. And with that should probably remind you guys, if you are watching at home and you have anything to say, good, bad, what have you, just drop a comment there. We're gonna get to it. Do either of you have Muslim friends?
But like, comment, and share this stream. If you're on X, reshare this stream. Help us get in front of more people. That is all. And to answer your question, Jason, I've had multiple Muslim friends. I used to coach a bunch of them in martial arts. We've had a lot of conversations about this. And, it's one of those things that if you start reading the Quran, and that is one thing that I swore to myself, I have a copy. I will read it all at one point. But this is part of what they do. At the end of the day, bro, their philosophy of life, if you follow the Quran, does not meld with but it doesn't mix with our values. It does not.
No, it does not.
Why? Like always, this is always what I ask myself. If you want Sharia law, go to a fucking country that Sharia law exists. Why is it that they always go to other countries like France, UK, now Canada, the US, and try to do the same
as the
country they left? Just stay where you're from. Like, if I'm not happy with the way, you know what? I'm never going to move to China because I don't want to move under a country that's actually a communist country.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. But it's because it's one of dominance. It is essentially
that's their role. Well, that's the goal.
And actually, so the girl I dated before my current girlfriend, so through COVID, we dated 4 years. She was Muslim. She was born in Algeria, grew up in Dubai, quite moderate. Her family was very modern and moderate. But, I can tell you right now, the moderate Muslims are the minority. The moderate Muslims, the best you're going to get is they just won't participate in this kind of stuff. And I also can tell you, not every single one of the people who are going to get up and go downtown as a show of force, an act of dominance, and stop traffic, not one of them is a moderate Muslim. Not one of them.
Oh, no, of course not.
No.
So you know what? Let's leave it there, because the comments are never going to stop, I think. So let's show the video that we're talking about that's going viral right now. Actually, I have a few, because I've been talking about this for a long time. But here you go.
So this is Young Street.
Bloor, but it is at the corner. Okay. If you look, Bloor is right here. You see, it's literally to Bloor West, and the intersection there in the corner is Young Street. busiest intersection in Toronto.
The most famous intersection in Canada, right?
But I don't think that's what. But you know, this is not what bothers me the most. Like, as much as this bothers me, is the reaction here.
This guy's shouting.
This is an unlawful assembly here. This is un-Canadian.
So you have a random dude in the street that's looking at police officers saying, this is unlawful. Because technically it is. You need a permit to be able to do this. You can't just show up to a corner and just fucking block traffic. But the police is just sitting there on their bicycle, like leaning on their bikes, doing nothing. And this is what bothers me the most.
And let's say they have a permit, they should not get one. They should not be giving permits to do this. Yeah, but I agree. This guy's the only guy who's speaking out. Everybody's just standing there.
And he's ballsy, bro. He's ballsy. Because if you say that, because the guys are praying, right? Do you think they would have taken that lightly if he said something to them?
So we're gonna talk. Okay, so
you know what? I'll just restart the video. Let's shut the hell up to let it play, and then we'll talk about more, because I want to show you something afterwards that's worse than this. This is not the worst video. I have way worse than that. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Rabbana wa lakal hamd.
This is an unlawful assembly here. This is un-Canadian. Palestinian Gestapo, all of you. This is our right to pray. Yeah, it's our right. It's against the law, you idiot.
So, like, we'll stop it there, just because this is literally the busiest intersection in Toronto, and they're just going, right? And look at all the people that are watching. They're literally blocking the intersection as well. So they're kind of surrounded by building, and police officers are standing there doing nothing.
Basically, they have the cops as their private security guards, right? There's no need for them to be doing that in the streets. So
they have, you know, there's hundreds of mosques in Toronto, just in Toronto.
It's not about that. If it was about actual practicing the religion, they would be doing that in the mosque. So I just, remember we were talking about the other day about effective public speaking. I'm going to try to take some lessons from that. Remember, one of the things that you were saying from that book was speak slowly. And when you're come to an important point, speak even slower. So that I'm gonna take the lessons learned. See, this is why this show is so great. We go down every single rabbit hole, and you're gonna learn a lot of stuff. But I have something to say about this, and that'll be sort of like the jumping off point of my whole takes on this, and then we'll get into all the other videos, because I think those are important to see that this is not a one-off. This is
you know what? Before you go on your rant, let me show you the second video. Okay. Oh, yeah, no, because the second video is worse. If you think this is bad, the second video is worse, because you'll see what the police officers are doing. It's even, it blows. The other video blows my mind. And just so you know, this is a video I posted on Instagram that went viral about 7 months ago. It was 30 weeks. So between 6 to 7 months. Look this. Check this out.
Okay.
So they're doing the same thing. Did you notice the police? There's about 50 to 100 police just there, standing, just like, look at this. Hold on. Let me just rewind it. Look at this. These are all police. These are all police officers. There's like literally at least, look at this. This is all police officers. So not only are they, it's the same spot. H&M. It's the same. If you look, hold on. Let me make sure. I want to make sure I'm not lying here. But
no, I think it is. I think you're right.
Let me see, because I remember. See, it's right there. The H&M is right there.
That's right.
If you see at the corner, you don't see my mouse, right? But right at the corner, you see the letters that are leaking red. That's the H&M. So basically, they were on the other side of the corner of the intersection. They were on Yonge instead of being on Bloor. But that's it. It's the same fucking spot, the same busiest intersection, in the busiest intersection in Canada. So if you want to rant, go.
All right. So like I said last night, it really kept me up, and I wanted to make sure I was able to say exactly what it made me feel. But what we just saw, this is radicalizing me, and I do not think I'm the only one, right? I'm sure, I feel like you've probably been radicalized for a while, but this is radicalizing me. I'm a liberal. I'm a lefty. There's something about this that is really striking me as a serious problem. So before I sort of get into the meat of the rant, look, I'm all for bringing people in from different walks of life. I'm all for tolerance and diversity, but newcomers have to respect our customs and our traditions, our values, right? If you want to come here and respect, like, I have all the time in the world for that kind of a person. And I'm also all for religious freedom, because that is one of our core values, religious freedom. But you know what else is? It's secularism, the separation of church and state. We are a secular society, and that means that there is no place for overt religious displays in public life. Now, if you want to practice your religion in private, in your mosque, in your church, in your synagogue, I'm all for that. I'm a big, if Parliament passed a law saying it was illegal to be Muslim, or they couldn't practice their religion in private, I'd be down there marching with them, even though I'm not Muslim. But this is not religious freedom. This is religious supremacy. This is religious dominance. It is a show of power and a display of force. They are essentially saying we can do whatever the fuck we want, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. And you know what? They are right. So far, they are right. You look at the cops there, basically acting as armed security. I wonder what would happen if someone went down there and ripped up the Quran, or, cooked bacon in a portable barbecue. And I really wish someone does start to do that. Or why don't Christians go down there and block their own traffic? Because that would be very interesting to see the response. I think we know what the response would be, and we're going to get to that in a second. But just back to sort of my rant here. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I know that there are moderate Muslims out there, but I can guarantee you not one of those men are moderate Muslims, and 100% of them are men. Because women are not allowed to worship with men. They're not allowed to pray with men, because they do not share our values. We live in a pluralistic, a diverse, a multicultural society. And the only way a society like that can work is if we do not have favored identity groups. We do not have favored religions. And when you start having favored religions, and you start letting people do whatever the fuck they want because they belong to a favored identity group, all you're doing is you're creating social division, you're increasing tensions, and people are not going to put up with it. So just to sort of end this rant, I'm not talking about going out and harassing individual Muslims, right? That's wrong. That isn't what we should be doing. What we should be doing is putting pressure on our elected representatives. Tell them that this is wrong. Tell them that we need laws preventing this stuff. You are not allowed to shut down our society to practice your religion as a show of force. Our leaders, there's no reason we can't. We are well within our power to ban these sort of divisive and destructive religious demonstrations. And so that's the gist of my position, right? I will support everyone's right to worship however they want. You do not get to come here and demand that the rest of us place yourself at a position of supremacy over the rest of society, and expect that people are going to be okay with that. Like, because I'm telling you right now, I can very confidently state the vast majority of the men in that group, if you polled them on their opinions or their values on things, they are not going to share our values. Most of them believe homosexuality should be criminalized, if not worse. Most of them believe that women are the property of the men in their lives, first their father and then their husband. these are not shared values. And, there's nothing inherent about the landmass of Canada that gives us these values of tolerance and respect for diversity. It is the people within them. If we start importing large amounts of people who do not share our values, pretty soon you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to recognize this country. And don't get me wrong, I'm a straight white guy. I will be fine. It's the women that are going to do really bad. It's homosexual people that's going to do really bad. So if you care about those people as groups, you need to be aware of this as a problem. And it is a growing problem. This is about dominance and control. It is not about religious worship, and we need to understand that.
But it's already too late, bro. Like they already the amount of immigrants that are Muslims that are showing up here, that have already showed up here, you're seeing it. They're already there. You go to Toronto right now and walk around. It is not Toronto from 20 years ago.
No.
It is filled with Indians, Pakistani, and people from the Middle East. The airport's right there. It was a joke when I lived down there. The airport is right there. They just they move right around the airport that's in Brampton/Toronto. This is nothing new. But hold on, this is nothing new. But as much as you can talk about this shit, I'm always gonna bring it back to common sense. I'm always gonna bring it back to let's stop being hypocrites and really talk about what the problem is. The problem is that they're allowed to do that, but we all know that as a Christian, I wouldn't be able to get a bunch of my Christian friends.
No,
go block Bloor and Yonge Street and start praying. We would get fucking arrested for doing this. And before you think that I'm full of shit and that it wouldn't happen, I have videos to prove to you what happens.
Yeah, we're gonna show it.
Don't even fucking protest. They're not blocking a street here. They're protesting people dressed as men, dressed as women, giving story hours to your children. That's who I'm talking about. We're not even blocking an intersection here. We're talking about a couple of dudes, a couple of Christians that are talking outside of a public funded library where there's an activity going on that they don't agree with. So we're not even on the same.
We're going to show that.
We're playing the same sport, but we're playing pee-wee and professional, right? There's a massive difference between the two of them. Yet we all know that Christians are not treated the same. I couldn't do that. You know as well as I do. Hold on, Jesus, you went for like 10 minutes. Hold on, bro. I cannot, as a Christian, I couldn't do this. Let's be honest here. And guess what? Canada was built on Christian values. You can hate it all. You can hate that fact all you want. That is why people come to Canada. That's why people love the US. That's why foreigners want to move to Canada and the US, because they were built on Judeo-Christian values. You might not be a Christian, and that's okay. You might not believe in Jesus. That's fine. Nobody's telling you should. That's the whole point. That's the whole fucking point. You get to come here and believe in whatever the fuck you want. But what really pisses me off is that we're seeing these type of events happening over and over and over and over again. Police officers are just standing there. Our governments are letting this happen. The guy, the province of Ontario is ran by a conservative government, and they're okay with this. He's been elected for years. He don't give a fuck about this shit. So not only don't think that it's just a liberal thing. We don't have conservatives in Canada. This is the point I make every day on my social media. There's no such thing as conservative people in Canada. They're all liberals. They call themselves conservative, but they're liberals because nobody's standing up to this. There's nobody that wants to fight this because they don't want to be called racist. I don't give a fuck. Call me racist all you want. I'm not a racist. But one thing I can tell you is we're fucking hypocrites, and this type of hypocrisy needs to stop, or else we will turn into the UK and France, or even worse than that. Because I think we're more fucking compliant, we're more complicit, and we're more weak. I think we're weaker as people than France and the UK. And look what happened over there. It's just a matter of time before it's here. And I put it to the test. I put you to the test. Go Google Canadian Muslim Sharia law. You will find videos upon videos upon videos of men admitting on camera that they want Sharia law in Canada. This is all over the place. They're there. It's not hidden. Ask them. They will tell you. And yes, Jason, I know Jason where he's going to go with this, and that's why he was asking us if we have Muslim friends, because he's going to go to the moderate. But this is not who we're talking about. We're not talking about moderates here. We're talking about young men, especially young men.
Young men between 18 and 30. That's exactly what it is.
This is their way of life. They don't give a fuck about you. And I posted this video this morning, and I was looking for the comment. I got a comment this morning basically saying from a Muslim guy, because I went on his page and I looked at who he was, but on YouTube, he basically said, who cares? We don't care about your liberalism. We just care about us. So basically,
that's how they see it.
This is all over the place. This is not a one-off. This is all over the place. They don't give a fuck about the way we live. They don't care.
They see themselves as Muslim first, and they want to change our society to become like the ones they have back home. So Joe Stradamus says, also, I can't help but laugh a little at a nominally Christian, presumably straight white guy talking about favorite groups. That's exactly the point, though. As a straight, well, I'm an atheist, but let's say nominally Christian, sure. Straight white guy, those are all the most unfavored identity groups. Like, and if you think that's not true, then you're either
I'm the worst in North America.
Or a liar.
As a white guy, a Christian white guy, I am the worst on the totem pole of identity. I have the less value here.
Yeah, and it's funny how when people like us say that, like, no, we like this is actually true. The people who love lived experience, they always throw out our lived experience because that doesn't matter. And you know why it doesn't matter? Because we are at the bottom of the totem pole of favored identity groups. Now, of course, in the past, 100 years ago, of course, being a white, straight Christian man would have been at the top. But that we don't live in that time. Why would someone today accept being essentially shuffled to the corner and told to sit down and shut the fuck up because their ancestors had it good? In the world we live in today, white, straight, nominally Christian, these are at the very bottom of favorite identity groups. And again, if you think that's not true, you're just a fool or a liar, because that is the world that we live in. That is the world that the leftists have created. And what I'm saying is that is a terrible way to structure your society. If you believe in equality, if you actually believe in the fundamental dignity of human beings, you cannot have favorite identity groups. You must only have, whatever happened to judging a person by their character and not the color of their skin. Woke left identity politics only judges people by the color of their skin or their sexuality or their gender or their religion. They throw, and that's the stuff that doesn't matter.
But that's not even what bothers me. As the guy sitting at the bottom of a totem pole, I don't even care about this shit. There's nothing that people can do to me that will change the way I want to live. I don't care because I'm not bothering anybody. What bothers me is the fact that we treat each other differently. That's the part I don't like. If I want to do what they're doing, which I would never do that because I have respect for the people that need to do shit, especially considering where they're doing it. They're not doing that in a park on a Saturday afternoon where everybody's having fun.
Exactly.
You know what, that's fine. They're doing that as a show of force. Let's stop the bullshit and try to really look at what's going on right here. Not only are we treating them differently, they know it, and they're putting it back in our faces. Exactly. This is what's happening. If let's stop the bullshit that I'm a white Christian guy and I need to cry because I don't have the power anymore. No, exactly. Yes, I do Muslim. I do have friends that are Muslims. I've trained a bunch of them for free, and their religion does not matter to me. I don't give a fuck the religion that you follow. Don't care. If you're a good person, you're a good person. I really don't give a fuck. But at the same time, that does not mean that they should have different rights than I do. Because if I'm not able to do that, but they can, that means we're not the same. That means that somehow they're better than I am because they get to do something that I don't get to do. This is the point that I'm trying to make. Why is it so different? And it is not racist for me to call this out. It is not xenophobe for me to call this out. If there's one thing that should be understood is, if you want to play that game of calling me names, that means that I should call you an anti-Christian. Because if you're going to censor me from doing something they're doing, that means you're censoring Christian. That means you're an anti-Christian. Is that what I'm supposed to say? This is my point, is that this shit never ends if you play the victim all the time.
Yep.
And we need to stop being fucking tolerant of groups that just don't give a fuck about us. They're not here to make.
They're trying to destroy our society, right? And
like you
said, we cannot be tolerant of people trying to destroy us. If you want to share our values, if you want to practice your religion privately in mosque like everyone else, please come here. I'm happy. Like I said, my girlfriend, we did for 4 years. Like her family, these are salt of the earth people. They were educated. They came here. The whole family moved here just about a year ago. They went through it legally. They did the process. They waited years. They were educated. They are hardworking. They are the kind of immigrants you build a country around. So it isn't like we're incapable of recognizing that. At the same time, we do have eyeballs and we can see what's going on, and we cannot just stick our head in the sand while an invasion by any other, for lack of a better term, an invasion is coming of people who hate our society, hate our values, and they want to change it. It's just as simple as that. Do we value our society or do we not? Do you want to take some of these comments, Nico?
And I agree with you. It's just that if we continue, we're just repeating ourselves, because it gets worse. No, but it gets worse.
Well, yeah,
I know I'm going to get.
We have more videos.
Oh, I have a bunch of other videos just to show you. If you think that's problematic, wait. You'll understand why the police were just standing there, 50, 60 of them just standing there doing nothing. If that doesn't make sense to you, give it a second. I'll show you why it does make sense. So, Mem Marino, what's going on, bro? Hey, y'all. Oh, fuck, I love that expression. Hey, y'all. I used to live in Scarborough. This is an everyday thing, and this was several years back. I had lots of interaction with them, and they were okay with me, but I know why they were there.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like I was saying, it's not about a personal animosity towards Muslims. Anyone who's hearing this and says, I need to go out and harass Muslims, like, get fucked. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about changing the laws, codifying things to make sure that our culture and our values do not get destroyed by people who fundamentally want to destroy them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just look at France and look at the UK. If you want to know what actually happens when you're too complacent, just look at those two countries and we'll tell you exactly.
Now, I know you say it's too late here. It might be, but it's definitely too late over there. It is.
The reason that I'm saying that it's too late, it's not just because of that. It's just I'm able to step back and look at everything that's going. You think it's a coincidence that Mark Carney is trying to build a strong alliance with Europe and the two countries that he visited over the past week instead of going to Washington, France and the UK, and they've both been completely destroyed when it comes to the same thing that happened in Toronto. Like, I'm trying to be very careful in the way I phrase things so I don't get in trouble on TikTok and YouTube, but you're getting the point.
Yep. We
have a leader now that wants to form stronger alliance with people that caved in with those individuals. So I'm just looking at all the sides and I'm like, we're fucked on so many levels that it makes me a pessimist. But at the same time, there's nothing much I can do about it. Instead, the only thing I can do is try to open people's eyes. But if it works or it doesn't, unfortunately, it's out of my control. Tony G is saying, has anyone ever seen a police protection detail for any protest in Canada until now? I saw them when they were having the Free Palestine protest in Montreal. Last time I was there, six-ish months ago. Actually, pretty much 6 months ago. It was the same thing. They were protesting. It was late, man, like probably 9 o'clock at night. So that is when people are starting to go to bed. They were right downtown St. Catharines, busiest street in Canada, in Montreal, and they were rah, 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 river to the sea, and you have police officers that are just protecting them. So I don't even care if it was with a permit, that it was done properly. Can you imagine if a bunch of Christians would walk down the street and start calling for the extermination of Muslims? You can't do that. You cannot do that. So why is it okay to call for the extermination of Israel that has Muslims, that have Jews, that have Christians, that have atheists. They're human beings. It's not right. Yet it's not only tolerated, but they were escorted by police to make sure that they were
it's protected.
So were they protecting them? Were they preventing them from smashing anything just by being there? No matter if they were protecting them or making sure that they weren't destroying shit, they knew they needed protection, right? They knew they needed to be there in order to make sense. Shit didn't happen. Memorino is saying
I think they're there to protect them.
Protect them from being attacked or prevent them from destroying shit. That's the only two reasons.
I think to protect them from not even being attacked, just from anyone saying, like, if you went down there and let's say you had a copy of the Quran that you bought, your own property, and you started ripping pages out, you would almost certainly be arrested for inciting violence because they are a favored identity group and you are not. And that's wrong.
Memorino is saying they were always at Yonge and Dundas with their Qurans. It's right around the same area that we're seeing. Like, Yonge is the busiest street in Toronto, and it is a long one too. So doesn't surprise me, man. Prairie, because of religion. Yep. I'm not sure where we're from. Want to read that one?
Yep. All right. Joe Stradamus. Racism and religion have always been the two most effective tools used by the inheritance class to keep the serfs at each other's throats. I mean, that's my take on the history of religion. Like, regardless whether it's true or not, it's pretty clear that humans have used religion as a tool of mass oppression, and it's probably the most effective way to do that. So again, that's why, modern societies tend to keep a separation of church and state. That's why we need to clamp down really hard on encroaching religious extremists who are getting more and more cultural, social, and political power.
Ding, ding.
Tony G, 100%. Rob Rourke says, 100%, brother. I think it's meant to radicalize, to help cause the chaos they want. When they put through the worst parts of sustainable development, they will then use them to commit false flags, to have fake attacks on them. They will lose their minds like the BLM protests, unleash chaos under a false pretense of victimhood. It's another Marxist tactic. I mean, I can tell you as a left-leaning person, a lot of people will read that and see conspiracy theory, but
it's happening. It's hard to deny it. It's very hard to deny it. If you're able to take your emotions out of it, the way you feel about it, and just step back and look at it logically, please, if you disagree with this, please tell me why. I'm interested in knowing. I'm interested in hearing why you think it's happening, but do it from a place of logic, not emotion. Not the way you feel about it. Look at it logically and tell me this is not Marxist tactics being used right now. And if you don't think so, please, I will always invite this conversation. This is the whole point of this show. So please prove
this
me
actually
wrong.
Might be a good segue. Do you want to define for the audience specifically what you mean by Marxism? Because that's another word like woke that has different. I think a lot of people aren't quite clear.
Changed. But it hasn't changed. Marxism refers to Karl Marx, the person that invented the commun. He wrote the Communist Manifesto. If you want to understand what it is, it's super small. It's right. I have it right here. There you go. Super small. It's literally 30 pages long, maybe. Karl Marx was a strong believer. His whole theory was based on the haves and the have-nots. There were two classes of people that have, people that have not. I don't think I need to explain what that means. And it was always about the have-nots becoming the haves. It's always about bigger governments. It's always about
the way that they do that.
Of course, but it's always about the good of the people. This is always how they're going to sell it to you. What's better for the good of the people? And at the end of the day, Marxism is all about putting more and more power in a governing entity that is not the traditional power. King. And no, but it's more than that, because if you go back to Karl Marx, there were still kings, there were still monarchy, and those are the people that were in power. So they were families for generations and generations and generations that were in power. They were the haves, and the have-nots were just you and I, just regular people. We wanted to replace them. Basically, that's all it is. So it's about putting people in power that will do good for the people. But as we all know, we're all corrupt. We're all corruptible. We all have a price, and it's very easy to see what people's price is. But the thing is with Marxism is, at the end of the day, if you remove all the bullshit and all the fluff, Marxism is about big government. It's about installing Big Brother. It's 1984. If you read the book by George Orwell, this is what Marxism leads to. Having an entity that is at the top of everything, that decides everything for the people. It's communism. Marxism leads to socialism, to communism. This is what Marxism is all about. Putting the power.
And one of the ways they do that. Oh, did we get banned again from TikTok? Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Oh, no, sorry. It's saying that it's having trouble.
Streaming to your destination. All right.
Again?
I'll just get. Is it the same thing, like misinformation, or what is the?
I'm not seeing anything. I'm just. It looks like they suspended. Your account has been suspended. Guideline: virtual items policy in your account is suspended again. Oh man!
Virtual items.
Oh no, it's just saying that because I'm allowed to sell, not that I do, but I can have a shop and sell stuff. So yeah, once again, they're saying misinformation, submit a bill. I'm just gonna stop. I think I'm just gonna stop streaming there. It's just they don't push my stream because they don't like what I say. So
that's all good.
It is what it is. I'll just stop streaming there.
So Prairie says, oh yes, we know how that would go if Christians did this, and yes we do, and we're going to show a video here in a minute that actually shows what will happen. Memorino, there are no moderate ones. No, I don't agree with that. I know they exist. The problem is they are not they are not dominant within the Muslim community. They have no sway, they have no power. There is no mechanism for them, for the leaders to say, no, don't do this, this is wrong, because the dominant school of thought within the Muslim community is that Sharia law dominance over other cultures, because they fundamentally believe that there's a superior. And again, the demographics cannot be ignored. We're talking about men, single men aged 18 to 30. This is the demographic that historically throughout all of human history is the cause of revolutions. You have a lot of angry young men, single men. That's when society is in trouble, and they are going to leave their countries and try to turn ours into theirs, and we need to not allow them to do that. Mr. Memorino says politicians won't do anything. Try that. That's Joe's. That's one we already took. Rob says the PPC is ready to make these laws. Let's go Canada. We need populism to defeat this global doom. Society will revolve back to the individual values in time. When weak men are at the wheel, the strong men need to take over and correct the ship. It's hard to disagree with that. Yeah, Nico is right. It is too late. Maybe I'm just the eternal optimist. But no, but I don't. But we got to be careful. Sorry for cutting you off here. But when I'm saying that it's too late, is what I mean is not too late for Canada as a whole. It's just too late to turn the ship around. We need to let it crash. This is what's going to happen. It's going to get a lot worse than it. Well, I mean, I agree.
One day, people that are moderate liberals, that are even the woke people, they're going to realize, because this is the best example. Use free speech, for example, right? Free speech for the past few years have been not a problem for lefties. They didn't care. It didn't matter to them because society, governments, culture, the people in power of the organization of all the mega corporations that are out there that are basically ruling our worlds were in favor of the lefties. So there's nothing that the left could say to get banned, to get censored. But guys like me, conservatives, we got banned left, right, and center. So for the past 10 years, especially 4 years for me since I've been creating content, I've been calling this out. It's not fair. We get censored because they don't agree with what we have to say. Now that the pendulum is starting to swing, at least in the US, it's starting to swing more in the middle. I say it all the time. We need to be careful not to go in a place where we start censoring the left because we're no better than them. But imagine that you let people like Muslims implement Sharia law. You'll see what happens to your freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is going to be the least of your problems. because your women are not going to be able to go outside without being with a man. They can't drive. They can't laugh in public. They have to be covered and just show their eyes. Like this is the type of shit that could happen. And the fact that you're liberal now, the fact that you're a conservative, is not going to matter if you let that happen. One day, free speech, if you don't fight for the speech that you do not agree with, your speech is going to be taken away. And this is what we're seeing right now. If I look at this, I'm like, you're liberal, you're conservative, you don't give a fuck, you're somewhere else. It still matters to you, because if something like Sharia law becomes a reality, your rights don't matter anymore, bro. They don't.
Well, and
no, if you're gay, you know, this is the biggest travesty. You cannot be LGBTQ and be for free Palestine. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Do you know what happened what would happen if you lived in Gaza? You'd have to learn how to fly.
Yeah,
or fast. Else it would not. So that's the point, right? Can we stop this bullshit and just realize that we need to be very careful? Because if we're not, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
And there is a blueprint for this. Anyone listening, if you're interested, check out the history of Lebanon. Lebanon was a Christian country up until, I believe, a few decades ago, when Muslims started to slowly immigrate there, and the numbers went up and up. And because, you know, it was a fairly modern, tolerant country, they were tolerant. As soon as the numbers became such where Muslims had either a large minority or like as in just under a majority or majority, a civil war started. They took over, they started murdering Christians, and now it is a predominantly Muslim country that is very strict, certainly according to Western values, and much of it would be follow under Sharia law. Most people think of it as a Muslim country. That's a new thing. It used to be a Christian country, and it is the mindset of, you need to understand that most Islamists, they fundamentally believe that their way of life, Islam, is superior. They think they're doing us a favor, right? You need to understand that. I'm not saying they're all evil people, but unless we want to live under that sort of a system, we need to start pushing back now. Tony G.
So before you go further, let me go into more details, because I have a lot of friends in Canada
please do.
that are Lebanese. And what you're talking about the Lebanese civil war that went between 1975 and 1990, where more than 150,000 people were killed. And Lebanon is not that big, it's not that populous, right? Mm-hmm. And it left with more than just about 1 million people in exodus, meaning that 1 million people left. And we have a very big, this is the number, those are the numbers I'm looking for right now, but a lot of them ended up in Canada, a lot of them in Montreal, because they speak French. So a lot of them are in Quebec because they speak French and they're Christians. And I've met a lot of them. Of course. That is a good point. Yeah,
if you look on X, they're the one. That's how I even know about this. Like, there's a guy named Gad Saad on X, GAD space SAAD, and he wrote a book called Suicidal Empathy, and he's a great follow. But yeah, he's a great follow, and he had to leave there as a Christian growing up in Lebanon as a kid because their family was going to be murdered. They left. He came here, became an academic. He's sort of like a Jordan Peterson type, and then he's now sort of speaking out. But it's many of the Lebanese people are saying, because this wasn't that long ago. Most people are alive today, remember it, and they're warning us. This is how it happened.
I've met them. I'm friends with some of them. And if you look here, it says that they estimate between they estimate around 80,000 so 80,000 Lebanese are between Ontario and Quebec. Actually 80,000 Lebanese are in Ontario and about 78,000 in Quebec. So you're looking at almost 200, like 100, let's call it 170,000 Lebanese. 160,000 Lebanese that live in Ontario/Quebec out of the million. So we have more than 10% of them that came over here. So that's the point, right? They're old enough to remember, and what you're saying is absolutely true. If you just Google that, Lebanese Canadian warn about Sharia law.
Islam,
There's a
yeah,
video.
Sharia law.
I cannot remember the video, but there was this guy, probably my age, around like 40 to 50 years old, and he's just being interviewed, and he's just like, "Hey, man, I come from Lebanon. He's talking about all the steps, and he's like, bro, this is what's happening here. This is exactly what's happening here. You guys need to wake the fuck up." The guy is scared. He's like, "I left Lebanon because of this. Now I'm looking at you guys allowing this. The same thing we allowed to happen in Lebanon, you're allowing here, and I'm scared shitless." They're like, we might be talking about the same guy, because that video I've seen years ago. So, and that video went viral. So it's possible that I saw that guy before he became popular. So
I bet you're right. And that's the thing, is they're like, listen, this is what happens. Once they were a small minority, they seemed moderate. They played by the rules. The second they had a majority, or at least a big enough minority to actually do damage, they went for dominance. That is the blueprint.
So Jill Stradamus is saying also many of the founders of the US were not Christians. They were deists, which is why we have such an emphasis on the separation of church and state down here. That's incorrect. But what's incorrect is, you got to be careful. I never said that they were Christians. I said Judeo-Christian values. I did not say Christian religion. Judeo-Christian, as in our system of law, is based on the 10 Commandments. That's my point. The point is not that there's a Bible and that's what you need, although to this day they swear on the Bible. Have you said that? Are you going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? So even to this day, the Bible is an integral part of our justice system, but it was based on Judeo-Christian values, because remove the religious aspect of the 10 Commandments, outside of the God, outside of one of the commandments that says that you shouldn't have any other gods but me. Yeah, that one can be debated by an atheist. I agree. Can all the rest be? No. And
the rest are just I mean, and I say that
they're just fucking common sense. Yeah. So we got to be careful, because I hear this speech like Joe Stradamus has said all the time, and it's just, I get it, but I did not say Christian religion. I said Judeo-Christian values. There's a difference. Man, I don't know that we can take all those.
No. Let's get back to some videos. We love it, guys. We love all the comments.
Oh yeah, but talk to each other too if you want.
Yep.
I'm just saying. So here's
actually,
the thing.
Before we go, I just want to show you something here that I just found. If you see,
don't
talking
put your
about
finger at me, that's very impolite.
If you can see this, it's about like attitudes. Half of all British Muslims.
Zoom in your screen.
How do I do?
You hold control on your laptop and zoom with your mouse.
Oh yes, okay. Half of all British Muslims think homosexuality should be illegal. Like illegal, right? Now, we're not talking about they don't agree with it, because there's a lot of people that here that don't agree with it. But I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Nico, but can I assume that you don't think it should be illegal to be gay?
As much as it says that it's a sin, I could not give two shits, because you're the one that needs to explain yourself to God, not me. What you do in your bedroom, I do not give a fuck. Leave the children out of it, and that is where my line is drawn. If you're doing whatever you're doing between two consensual adults, I can give two fucks about. I don't care. Don't care.
Poll: 46% of French Muslims believe Sharia law should be applied in the country. That's 46%. That is, I mean, that's a lot, man, especially as you get more and more. And those are the ones, and the other 54%, maybe they won't say to a pollster, but I guarantee you they will not stand up to their fellow Muslims and say, no, I don't want that. So, I mean, this is what they want to do. Doesn't mean that we need to harass individual Muslims. That isn't right. But it does mean we need to protect ourselves with laws. And we cannot just turn a blind eye to what is going on under our noses. Unless we want a society where we have.
I wish I would have thought of this video before I would have looked for it. But there was this guy in Canada that was interviewed by just one of those street interviews. Sounded like a very smart guy, Muslim guy, and he explained exactly how they would take control. He's like, Sharia law's coming. This is how we're going to do it. And it's exactly what happened if you look at France. because France right now, if I'm not mistaken, they have it's either France or the UK. They're starting to have mayors of massive cities that are Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how he explained it. He's like, we're going to become your police officers. We're going to become your mayors.
Well,
and
we
then
have a
we're
clip.
going to
We
become
have a clip of that too.
Why do you think I'm bringing this up? Is because I
That's
see
a great
the connection,
segue.
right? It's just I forgot about this video until now, and it's not one of those videos that went viral. I would have to look for it, but all to say that the guy was honest enough, and I can respect his honesty. Is like, it's gonna happen because you guys are allowing us to do it, because you're being so tolerant and we're taking advantage of it. The guy was the most honest Muslim I've ever heard, and I'm like,
he was probably like not a bad guy. Like, that's the thing. We're not saying they're monsters. They genuinely believe they have a superior way of life. They think they are doing us a favor by converting us or converting our society to Sharia law. So,
but it's funny you say that. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, because I learned something about this morning that I never heard before. It blew my mind. I said it to my wife. She's like, oh, what the fuck? And I think it's going to blow your mind too. But just to put some context, because that conversation matches perfectly for, I know you're going to go there with the next two videos no matter what. But just to put some context behind this, the next two videos are Toronto police. This is an official podcast that is endorsed, not only endorsed by the police of Toronto, but recorded on Toronto police premise by guys that are in police uniforms.
And
this to me sound this. Oh, it has been. We'll talk about this after, but it has been pulled. This has since been removed because there's been a backlash, and you know where the backlash started? On X. And all they showed is the video you sent me. The first video I'm going to show you, this is what caused the backlash. Wait till I show you the second video I found this morning off of a podcast that was published a couple of days ago, where the guy goes into more details. It's fucked. But here's the first video that got a lot of backlash. Police officers, Toronto, on police officer premise, a podcast that is endorsed by the police of Toronto.
And all this is going to tell them, say this because we're not quite there yet. Okay, we need to just keep it quiet for another bit longer until we get the numbers up a little bit more, and then they'll try it again. And eventually there won't be a backlash, right? And that's when.
But see what I'm saying? Like, Toronto police, it's their uniform. The table couldn't be more indicative. Yeah,
they're representative.
100%.
They're representative of the Toronto Police Force in this video.
Yeah. So watch this, and then I will show you another video.
It's funny you say this because, through social media, a lot of people after October 7th started learning about Islam.
They did.
October 7th being when Hamas attacked Israel. That's I want to make this because they're going to go on a tangent that I'm like, are you fucking ridiculous? But so sorry, I'm going to rewind it. I'll shut up. I just want to make sure October 7th is what happened between
and
Palestine
also just
and Israel.
Just one point was like, let's keep this separate from that conflict, Palestine, Israel. Whatever you feel about that exact
that's not about this.
Yeah, exactly. That October 7th, whatever you feel about the politics behind that issue, like the people murdered that day were innocent civilians in that moment. So this is the context of what they're talking about.
I'm talking about this as a Christian that's looking at Muslims and Jews killing each other. Yeah. This is how detached I am from this, but listen to this.
It's funny you say this because, through social media, a lot of people after October 7th started learning about Islam.
They did, yeah.
And they said, okay, what is it with the religion that why is it so hated? Yeah. You know what I mean? Why are they being attacked all the time? So people say, you know what, let me learn about Islam. And there have been a lot of reverts through this whole process. I couldn't imagine, like, I guess when you're on social media, most of the feeds come through you. Once you see one, it just keeps coming. But the amount of people that are reverting to Islam is unbelievable, and they're just I guess through education, right? They're actually educating themselves and saying, what is it that Muslims are being targeted, and why are they being targeted? Let me learn about this religion. What are these accusations that they're saying, about Islam, and let me learn about it myself and figure out, hey, is it actually true or not?
Yeah.
It's funny.
So let's just put into context what he just said. Then I want to bring up a word that he mentioned that sounds very innocent. And the first time I saw this video, I didn't catch it. It's when I started reading the descript, like the comments of people, and then I did some research. I'm like, oh, that's fucked. But basically, what the guy just said is that since October 7th, they're seeing more and more people becoming Muslims. How fucked is that? That is basically what
Who
they
looks at
said.
October 7th and says, I want to become one of those guys. It's insane. It is like, regardless of if you feel that Israel is the bad guy, and that's a valid take and a valid debate. October
We're not even debating
7th,
that. We're not debating that.
That was just like they took over Nova Music Festival. Kids, 18, 19, 20-year-olds dancing, having a good time. Some of the women murdered were found with nails driven into their groin and inner thighs. Like, these are not good people, regardless of how you feel about the politics behind the Israel-Palestine issue. And to have that event be the catalyst for people to become Muslim, I mean, that doesn't speak well of those people, in my opinion, of their character.
I couldn't agree with you more. But did you hear the word that he used? He called them, so people who are going and becoming Muslims, they're called reverts. Okay. Why do you think? I'm going to ask you the same question I asked my wife this morning. Why do you think they're calling them reverts?
So I just assumed he meant converts, and that was just he got the words mixed up or something. Is it a specific? Okay, well,
very specific. Just to tell you that the two guys that are there, obviously the guy on the left was Muslim, like you can clearly see with the beard, the way you can see, right? It's easy to assume that he is. But the guy on the right, you don't know, because who knows? He could be whatever religion he is, but you can't really tell. Revert in the context of Islam means it describes someone who has recently converted to Islam, implying a return to what is considered their original natural state of submission to God rather than a new conversion. What this means is that as per Quran doctrine, we are all born Muslims, but until we accept that as our faith, hold on, let me read this. We are all born Muslims, but until we choose to be Muslims, just choosing to be Muslims is us going back to our natural state. So we're all born Muslims. We might not know it, but when we do see the light and become Muslim, we're going back to our natural state.
And that is such an important distinction, because that goes to the whole mindset, the whole worldview. That is not a tolerant mindset, right? These aren't people who are prepared to tolerate or be happy that someone else has their religion. If you, it's kind of what I said. They think they're doing the right thing. They think they're doing us a favor. They do not see themselves as the bad guys. And I would go so far as to say those two guys, I would be surprised if they weren't pretty decent guys in regular life. You know what I mean? I don't know about anything about them, but they very well could be. And yet they could also at the same time think it's completely acceptable to force Sharia law into the rest of society and think that's a goal, because they're saving us from our infidel selves. They're saving us from our degenerate selves. That is how they see it. And once you realize that, of course it makes sense that they're trying to be, they're trying to dominate our society. And that is why we need to be aware. We need to be awake. We need to keep our eyes open, and we need to push back aggressively whenever and wherever we see it.
Carnage, before we read the comments, what's going on? Hello. Because I got another video. Because this one, so you know what? I found an article that I wanted to share with you guys, because I saw this video, and to me, I'm like, well, that's nothing compared. Because I saw this video after I found mine. You sent it to me, and I'm like, I saw that. I'm like, okay, you know what? If that pissed people off, wait. If that really insulted people and that created a backlash, I'm so happy that I found another guy that had the original video that was taken down that can actually speak to this. So this is this one here. We're gonna remove this. Oh, why does it do that? So annoying. Hold on. Bring it. There we go. So here's an article from City TV News, from City News. So just so you guys know, it's very leftist, very, very leftist type of newspaper or media outlet. And this is from March 11th. Toronto police apologized, deletes podcast that saw officers credit October 7th terror attacks for leading people to convert to Islam. So it is not just you and I that actually saw it this way. It is literally what a very tolerant left-leaning source of media in Canada is thinking. I just wanted to put it into context because that podcast that you just saw, the video that you just saw was part of a podcast that was taken down because there's a backlash about this. And it's just a dude. It's so funny because this morning when I was looking about it was him, Levitian. He's the one that actually he posted the exact same video you posted. Same thing, same video. And that created an outrage. I'm just curious to see how many views it actually got. Hey, see, he was able to create an outrage with literally, maybe if you look at the numbers, he has 3,000 likes. So
yeah, I mean, not
20,000 views, 30,000 views. This is the type of, normally you're about 10%-ish, give or take, of interaction. So we're not talking about a podcast that has millions of views and is seen. I have videos of me fucking walking with my dog. I have 500,000 views on them. So this is not, it didn't go viral is my point. It was just targeted. The right person saw it and they said, we got a problem here.
Yep.
Okay, so if you think that this isn't good, if you think that this was problematic, let me fuck with you even more because obviously if you've been here before, you know that that's what I do. So I found a video from this guy. I cannot remember his name, but I will make sure to follow his podcast because hot damn. I took the first 4.5 minutes. The rant was almost 20 minutes long, but I just want to play this video. I'm going to go pee at the same time, but this, he puts it into perspective and shows a part of the video that was not shown, that was taken down. So listen to this.
We celebrate in Canada the freedom of speech. However, when we have somebody labeling a certain group as something they're not, all of a sudden now it becomes, when there's an Islamophobic undertone, if someone is calling a Palestinian rally a Hamas rally, then all of a sudden people start getting afraid. And they think, oh, wow, these are people that support an entity that's been labeled as a terrorist organization. However, the people that are there protesting, they're there for a different cause altogether. So then that becomes active discrimination.
That was Toronto police officer Farhan speaking on an official department-endorsed podcast. Did you catch what he said? Let's start with the obvious. If these rallies aren't Hamas rallies, then what exactly are they?
So before, I wanted to give him the credit. That's why I left all of this, because the guy does, I have to respect his work. But so in the first video, they mention how there's a lot of reverts since October 7th. So people became Muslims to their natural state of Muslim because of October 7th. And then the guy, the same police officer that was talking before, is saying that this Islamophobia, that it's a problem that needs to be addressed because people that go to Free Palestine don't have anything to do with Hamas. Bull fucking shit, bro. How many? I've seen them for myself, both in the US and Canada. Not what I've seen on the news, in person. And they're wearing the headbands. They have the flags in their hands. It's like having a Christian, it's like having a Christian protest with a bunch of guys in KKK uniforms. I wouldn't be okay with that. I would tell them to leave. Like, I don't want to be associated as a Christian with those type of Christians. Do you know what I mean? So they're there and it's okay. And let's not lie here. We see those all the time. So that police officer is full of shit. Like, he is full of shit.
Well, I mean,
But
from the river to the sea, how there's no way you can that is fundamentally a chant that requires the death or removal of millions of Jewish people. There's no other way to look at that. And you can separate, activism for the Palestinian cause from support for Hamas. But the point is, I don't see it. Like, it's not like we're just pulling this out of our ass. We're seeing them do it, and so therefore we believe that they are supporting Hamas because they're doing it.
And that's what people would tell me. If you saw a bunch of KKK guys in a Christian protest, people would automatically tell Christians those guys are supporting KKK. Yet when it comes to Free Palestine with a bunch of people supporting Hamas, somehow we need to be able to separate them.
It goes back to the favored identity groups, right?
Let's not be hypocrites. If it's different for me doing the same thing, it should be the same for them. That's where the bullshit is. And I like what Rob is saying. Nick came back at a good time. Yes, I was able to stop it right in the middle to rant about it. You want to continue? You have something else to say, Robbie?
No, I'm good.
We've all seen the footage. You've seen the footage. I've seen the footage. These rallies have people literally waving Hamas flags, chanting from the river to the sea, a call for the destruction of Israel and the death of Jews, and in many cases, explicitly expressing support for Hamas itself. So tell me, how exactly are we mislabeling them? And let's be even clearer. Hamas is a designated terror organization. That's not an opinion. That's not discrimination. That's a fact. And if thousands of people took to the streets waving ISIS flags, chanting death to America or death to Canada, and openly supporting their attacks, would anybody be confused about who they're backing? Or would we just call it what it is? But somehow when it comes to Hamas, we're expected to ignore the flags, the chants, the rhetoric, and pretend these protests are something else. And then Officer Farhan says this: the people that they're protesting, they're there for a different cause altogether. Like what? What exactly is the different cause, Officer Farhan, that just so happens to look, sound, and act exactly like a Hamas rally? But let me put on my counterterrorism hat for a second. This is where it gets dangerous. Because according to Officer Farhan, when you point this out, when you call it what it is, that's not the truth.
And by the way, I should have said this before, but I forgot. You guys might not see it, but the guy's name is Aaron Cohen. Obviously, he's a Jew. And I don't remember if I left it in this video because the video was a lot longer, but he used to fight for the IDF. He was part of the Israeli defense system. No, but I just want to make sure that obviously this guy's
for
biased.
Transparency.
No, but this guy's biased, obviously. Obviously, this guy's biased. It's just that the point, again, as you know, if you've been following this show, I will show video from the left, from the right. I don't care where the source is. If they're right, they're right. Plain and simple.
Yeah. So, and I think he did point at, because he's not telling us anything we don't know. Like, we've all seen the chants from the river to the sea, right? We've all seen the protest.
He's just putting it in your face, right? Like, I've seen it, and he's right. If you had a bunch of people supporting ISIS, you wouldn't be okay with it. Why is it okay to support Hamas, which has been identified by the U.S. as a terrorist organization? This is a fact. He's not lying here. He's just talking truth. The fact that he's a Jew shouldn't matter.
And I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't particularly give a shit. Like, I'm kind of like you in that regard. I don't particularly give a shit about who's in there. I think it's been going on for so long that there's plenty of blame to go around. The thing that really I think is a little bit scary is the way the cop was framing it. Remember, he wasn't just talking about like, they say they equate Hamas or the pro-Palestinian protest with pro-Hamas and then just saying it's a bad thing. He was starting to talk about it in the framing of it's a legal issue, like that these people should start to be
free speech. Perhaps no, it was free speech.
Yeah,
which, like, by the way, bro, we don't have in Canada, so you can shove it. We don't have free speech. It does not exist in Canada. This ain't the US, motherfucker. But that's not the point. I'm sorry. It's just, but if you're going to be right at least. If you're going to be accurate, be accurate. We don't have free speech in Canada.
to hear a cop talk like that, like in uniform, it starts to seem like he's going to
get worse.
Yeah,
no,
like
it's going to get worse.
You can tell he's itching to arrest people for pointing out obvious facts, right? For this hate speech or whatever.
And you know what I was telling you earlier, that video, I should have looked for it because the guy was explaining exactly this. He was explaining how they would be able to implement Sharia law. It would come from outgrowing you as a society. We will have more kids. And if you look at the statistics, Muslims have a lot more kids than just other Canadians. I'm not just talking white Canadians here. I'm just talking the rest of Canadians. So they will outgrow us, replace us in all the position of power, and then they can change the law because we can't vote them out.
Well, and the reason for that is because in the culture, women are property. You know, the wife will not have a say in how many kids she has. If the husband wants to impregnate her, he can do so as many times as he wants. That is why the birth rate is so high. These are just facts.
So, again, yes, 100%. And I think I found the video. I'll play it after, but let's continue this.
It's Islamophobia.
Pushed a huge thing after October 7th to actually encourage, including the chief of police, Myron Demkew, to push for to report Islamophobia events.
So let me ask you this. Is it Islamophobic to state a fact? Is it Islamophobic to call out people who are visibly, vocally supporting a designated terrorist organization, Officer Farhan? Because what this sounds like, my friends, is an attempt to silence criticism of Hamas supporters by labeling it Islamophobia. And that should concern every single Canadian, no matter what your background is. But I want to talk about this podcast in a little bit of a broader sense. I want to talk about an ongoing, consistent pattern of appeasement up in Canada. This podcast episode isn't a mistake. This is part of a larger pattern of appeasement throughout the Canadian government. And the people in charge aren't protecting Jews. They're protecting the people that have been terrorizing them.
Okay, again, this is not the point of this video.
Yeah, his bias is showing here, and that's not. That's separate.
But I said it at the beginning. At the beginning that he's clearly Israel, from Israel, or a Jew because of his last name, obviously. But he was in the IDF. So I just want to make sure you guys understand this is not about.
And we're not endorsing everything he says.
No, I'm not. Like I've said, I will show videos from all over political spectrum to just show what people are saying. When they're right, they're right. Do I agree with this? I'm not even touching that one with a 10-foot pole. It's what's coming after. He's going to talk about something else afterwards.
I want to look at the timeline of what's happened since October 7th. Toronto saw some of the largest pro-Hamas rallies in the Western world. Google them. And Jewish businesses and synagogues have been vandalized, shots have been fired, and Jews have been harassed and physically attacked in broad daylight. And so where was law enforcement? Standing down, refusing to enforce the law, making excuses for these mobs. So here's my question. Who gave them the order to stand down? Who's making them stand down? Cops don't do anything without being told what to do. Chain of command, very strict in our community. Now, fast forward to today, and we're seeing that not only did Toronto police fail to protect Jewish communities, they actively promoted a podcast that's now defending these Hamas rallies. And it doesn't stop there. Take a look at this. Why is Officer Farhan seated here in uniform with Sheikh Abu Bakr Zoud, who openly calls for Muslim doctors to, quote unquote, take advantage of their kafir, patience, and praises martyrdom?
So, you know,
even the moderate
of this video, all I want to say is I do not agree with the way that he puts it. Like he sees it from a Jewish perspective. I get it. I fully understand why. I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong. Not my problem. It's not my problem. What I'm saying is, as a regular Canadian, the fact that you have police officers talking on a podcast that is backed by the police of Toronto, that is recorded on a table that belongs to the police. Clearly, it's indicated right there, and it's on their premise. They're wearing their uniforms, and they said two things. October 7 has created a bunch of reverts. This to like me below. Yes, and then they're trying to blame us. They're trying to say that we are Islamophobic or xenophobic because we are associating the Free Palestine protests with Hamas support. Yet I have seen them with my own eyes in Montreal. I have seen them with my own eyes right here, where you have people that are at Free Palestine protests with Hamas flags, Hamas headbands on. And let's be honest here. Let's cut the bullshit for a second. If I were to have a rally with a bunch of my Christian friends, and there was a bunch of KKK guys in uniform prancing around saying racist shit, what's the first thing people would say? That I support racism and I support the KKK, or even that I'm part of the KKK. So can we stop with the bullshit?
Yeah. Would
if
they be
you're not taking care of your own protesters that are there and say, hey guys, you need to leave, we don't agree with you, you don't actually publicly get rid of them, that means you're okay with what they're doing. Like, at the end of the day, let's cut the bullshit here. Because I guarantee you, if I was organizing a protest with a bunch of Christians and KKK showed up, the first thing I would tell them is to get the fuck out of there. Like, are you kidding me? So let's stop. Let's cut the bullshit, right?
Yeah. And so Prairie says, oh, wow, that's scary about these immigrant doctors. And yeah, that's exactly it. Like, how can Jewish people feel secure calling the police? How can they feel like they can be treated fairly? How can they feel like it's not like, I feel like because the woke left, again, if we go back to the identity politics thing, because Muslims are at the top of the chain, they're the only people whose issues are considered. Everyone else is irrelevant. And that's not a way to structure your society. Before
you get more comments, I just have one more video to show. It's 45 seconds. I found the guy that I was referring to. So listen to this guy. This is a Muslim guy from Canada that explains how Sharia law will be implemented in Canada and even worldwide.
By 2016, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then? Actually, to oppose Sharia is even then. We have families, we are making babies. You're not. Our population is going down the slump. One day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada. Right in your face.
You say that you want Sharia law to displace Canadian law. That doesn't sound very respectful.
In majority, you wouldn't have any other option, my friend. Islam doesn't endorse gayism. Islam doesn't endorse homosexuality. The gay people are doing is against the commandments of God.
This is your future, Canada.
The video goes 10 minutes long. Sorry to cut you off, but the video goes for 10 minutes, and he explains how by having more babies, they will outgrow Canadians. They will replace them in the police as doctors, as politicians, and eventually they will be able to vote the people that they want in power. And then, as he just said, you won't have a fucking choice. What the fuck are you going to do about it?
Yep. And he's
so right. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's right there. And that video is not new. That video didn't come out 2 days ago. I've seen that video, I think, years ago. So
and if you talk about this stuff on X and the algorithm starts to send it, you see this guy's not an isolated like this is a common belief. You will hear people say things like this. Muslim men, many, and that guy seemed a bit like, a bit crazy, a bit angry. Many of them are just like those Toronto cops, calm.
But he's actually well spoken. But he's actually well spoken. It's just he's on the camera, he's putting a show, and they took a 10-minute video and freezed it in 45 seconds. So they cut off probably, because I remember watching the whole video, and that guy was actually sound very intelligent, well spoken. It's just
those are common beliefs. Those are common beliefs in the Muslim community, and the ones who don't believe it. Just the way to set up, they don't have. There's no mechanism for them to push back. They just keep quiet, right? But like this, we're sticking our heads in the sand if we pretend like if we just blindly accept the leftist woke mindset that no, everything is fucking, sunshine and rainbows. And no, of course, these people, there could never be an issue. Like, they love homosexuals and they love women and they believe in equal rights. They don't. Enough of them do not.
And this is the difference between Christians and Islam. This is a massive difference between the two. Nowhere does it say in the New Testament that you should kill people for their beliefs. You don't. It literally tells you to love the people that hate you, to love the people that will prosecute you, to love the people you don't agree with. And if you've ever read the Bible, Jesus hung out with people that were not valued by societies. The people that today would be looked down on. They're telling you that in their religion, they want to get rid of you. If you're gay, they don't like you. If you're a woman, guess what? You're going to lose your right. If you're like me, a Christian, oh, bro, I would not last long under Sharia law. I'd be killed. Just look at what's going on in Syria right now. Just look at what's going on in Africa right now, in countries where Muslims are taking over and Christians are still there. This, again, is not a conspiracy theory. And I don't want you to listen to this and think that I'm trying to push Christian values on you. All I'm saying is there's no difference between me, a Christian, and you, an atheist, under their rule. That's the point I'm trying to make, is you can be under a Christian. Let's say that we all agree that this society was built on Judeo-Christian values. To this day, at least in Canada, since the 70s, there's been a disconnection between state and church. You're not forced to do anything, Christians, if you don't want to. I don't really give a fuck if you don't want to do it. You know what? That's on you. I'm not here to convince you. They do care. It's not okay for you to not be part. Remember what I said about reverts. They believe that you were born.
You're a Muslim first.
And that you coming to this religion is you coming back to your natural
state. The natural state. So, and I mean, and I'm not a Christian, right? Like I'm an atheist, would be the best way to describe it. I've talked about that a little bit, but I have eyeballs and I'm aware the culture is just different. You simply do not see Christians going to other countries, shutting down infrastructure, shutting down streets, doing protests, demanding to change those countries' value systems. And I mean, part of it is that Islamic countries would never allow it, right? They're not suicidal. They're not culturally suicidal the way that we are. And so, we got to call a spade here. It is not racist to discuss facts, to just discuss the facts that you observed with your very own eyes. And if we do not become aware and awake of what the agenda is, and there's things you can do right now. You can put in laws in place to prevent a lot of this stuff. But if we just don't do anything, there's no way that cops should have been allowed to do that. To make that podcast. No way in hell.
Good point, bro. Do you know, and I was looking at the law, there's a 10-page PDF on the Toronto Police website to say what is acceptable for a police officer to wear while in uniform. First, how the fuck was he allowed to be in a mosque praying in his uniform? Because technically that's not okay.
It shouldn't be okay.
And do you know that if you have a Christian police officer, he is not allowed to wear a cross that is visible. Everything that has to do with religion,
but again,
needs to be under a shirt. But this is my point. So not only as a Christian, if I was a police officer, I could not, obviously, this would not be acceptable, obviously, but I would have to hide my cross. That dude, there's two dudes on police. Police. No, that's nothing. They're on police premise on a podcast backed by the Toronto Police in uniform on police premise, talking about how October 7th has created a bunch of reverts, like it's a good thing. And if you have the audacity to speak against the Free Palestine movements and associate them with Hamas, you're a fucking xenophobe. And I cannot I have to have my cross under my uniform if I'm a Christian. Are you fucking kidding me?
And this is why
the difference here?
And this is why I brought up in the beginning how identity politics works. The reason why that happens is because that is a favored identity group, and those identity politics have permeated all aspects of society. Carnage says they wear rainbow pins, though. They shouldn't be allowed to do that either. Cops should not have political statements on their fucking uniforms. They are supposed to be neutral arbiters of the law. See, this is what happens. The left has been culturally dominant for so long, at least 20 or 30 years, that they believe that their beliefs should be spread out through the entire society, and they have had the power to do so. And that's not, I mean, I say that as a strong believer in gay rights. I believe in, I think that it's a good thing that the gay rights movement got equal marriage, and that homosexuals can marry whoever they want. But I don't want cops to display political flags or symbols, period.
Look at this.
It's not
Toronto
that
police.
difficult.
Toronto
it
police
isn't
with the
that
LGBTQ
difficult.
flag on the side of their trucks. Can you?
I don't. Yeah, it's not difficult. Just be neutral in all things when you are in public and on duty. It's not fucking hard. That is the easy way to fix all of these issues.
Like, look at this shit. 2SLGBTQ plus on the side of a fucking Toronto police truck.
Do you want to play the clip of the Christian? Christian being arrested for praying.
Hello, I forgot about that. You know what? This is a perfect segue. I wanted to show that before, but thank you for bringing it back. I'm going to show you a video from a guy called Derek Reiner.
And this is what happens when you're in a non-favored identity group.
Yeah. So just to prove our point that Christians would not be treated the same, the name of this guy is Derek Reimer. He's a pastor out of Calgary, Alberta. I've had him on my podcast before. If you want to see the podcast, episode 30 on Woken with Nico. But the guy has been arrested multiple times. I think it's 3 or 4 times now. He's more than $100,000 in debt for his legal defense. Why? Not because he blocked the busiest intersection in Canada. No. Because he was meters away from a library, a public library funded by your tax dollar, where men in dresses were teaching your kids about LGBTQ crap. That's what, listen to this. That's the story hour by dudes in dresses. He was outside as a Christian, protesting this, not blocking a fucking intersection, the busiest intersection in Toronto, just talking about religion. And you know what? As per that police officer, we should have that right? It's freedom of speech. He used that right. Wrong. Unfortunately, wrong. So this is a video. It's about 2.5 minutes video. It will show you, it shares a bit of his story. It's by Rebel News.
Zuleika Toy reporting for Rebel News, coming you with an update on Pastor Derek Reimer, the pastor at Calgary's Mission 7 Ministries, who feeds the homeless and ministers to the vulnerable in the downtown core, was arrested Thursday afternoon after he was assaulted while protesting at an all-ages drag queen story hour event in Calgary's Seton Library.
We are now calling the police.
We have now confirmed that Pastor Derek has been arrested and charged with several bylaw offenses, mischief, and causing a disturbance. The question lies if this was a direct result of Mayor Gondek's temper tantrum on Twitter. There was a contested bail hearing late last night, and Pastor Derek was ordered released on conditions, but he refused to accept them. The Crown is approaching these charges as if they are hate crimes. It seems as if they are turning his Christian faith into a hate crime. There may be, in fact, more charges in this vein. Another court hearing was held today in regards to his continued detention. The next court date will be this upcoming Monday. Currently, he is still in prison because he won't sign the unacceptable bail conditions that impose upon his freedom of religion. Rebel News will be at court in full force on Monday. To see the full coverage and to contribute to...
So the guy came out, but he's still battling. The last time I spoke to him was about 3 months ago when we recorded a podcast together, but he is still battling the charges, and they came back at him with something new that he needs to deal with. I should reach out to him just to see how he's doing. But all to say that you have Muslims that are capable of blocking an intersection, the busiest intersection in Canada, multiple times, no repercussion whatsoever. You saw 50, 60 police officers in one of the videos that are just standing there doing nothing. In the other video, there's like 5 of them doing nothing. They're just letting them do it. You have police officers in uniform that are clearly Muslims, almost celebrating October 7th like it was a great thing for their religion, and then accusing guys like me to be xenophobes because I have the audacity to point out that they have a bunch of Hamas supporters at their protest. And now you just saw a Christian pastor by the name of Derek Reimer that protested drag queen story hours, that was obviously assaulted and physically kicked out of a show by 2 guys that were not police. And he's been in prison, as he's been in and out of court for about 2 years now. And as per, if I remember correctly, he's more than $100,000 in defense costs up to now. If it wasn't for Rebel News, that's why I chose their video, because they chose to help him. And as far as I know, they're paying for most of it. But this is the situation. And tell me there's not a hypocrisy going on in Canada. Please,
well, it's that same double standard. And again, I'm not a Christian. I still, like most people, I have a strong aversion to injustice when I see it. And you cannot have 2-tiered policing. You can't have rules for one group and different rules for other. Rob says the protected class always gets away with it. 6 don't need to ride a motorcycle with a helmet because of their turbans. Their beliefs already trump our laws. Exactly. That's a great point. True. They can bring they can, those religious daggers. They can bring them to school. It's just nonsense. If you're a favored identity group, and you are going to get away with whatever you want, and that just breeds resentment. And when the people who are in the non-favored groups start actually speaking out and saying this is fucking bullshit, they get arrested. And that is bullshit. That's not right. And we need to start waking up to what is going on. This is an interesting point here by Carnage.
Hold on. Just let me add something to what Rob just said.
Go ahead.
Not only do they have the rights to wear their turban when on the motorcycle, Sikh police officers in Toronto are allowed to wear their turbans as part of their uniform. And this is a religious symbol. But as a Christian, I would not be allowed to wear a cross. And if I am allowed to wear a cross, it needs to be hidden. This is their religion. And I'm not saying they should be able to or they shouldn't be able to. What I'm saying is be fucking constant across the fucking board.
And again, and that's just another great example. Christians are in an unfavored identity group, and so their religious beliefs don't count. They are not, they're deemed to be frivolous. Oh, who cares? You don't get to wear your cross. But the Sikhs, their religious beliefs are deemed to be important and valuable. Carney says, what the fuck would happen if Muslims started praying in the same place? That would be really interesting. But what's interesting is it won't happen because they don't protest at things like that, because for a lot of the time, they don't see this as their society. They don't care about it. They see that as decadence and wrong, but they don't have a stake in it, right? Like the reason why, well, hold on. The reason why the pastor went down there and protested is because he feels like this is his society, his community, and he has a role to say against. The Muslims that we're talking about, they don't see it as their society. They don't have a stake in it. They just want to tear it down so they can put in the society that they want.
You know what? I agree with you on the reason why Derek was there protesting. I don't agree with you with the reason why Muslims are not protesting it. The reason they're not protesting it is the same reason why they're able to push their ideology using the woke crowd to back them up. They fully know that. Why would they fight the woke when they can let the woke fight me while they can do whatever the fuck they want because the woke will fight for them? Why would you do that?
I agree with that.
What's the term? What's the expression? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Is my friend. Yeah.
Until I'm in power, and then no more.
They know that the woke is their biggest ally right now. They don't want to fight the woke. That's a good point. I agree.
I don't think people are stupid. I tend to give people credit to assume that they're smart, that they're not stupid.
So we'll take these last few comments, but since we only have 5 minutes left, I found a video as we're talking, and this is it's only 45 seconds. I'm gonna show you guys, and it's Nico. I was talking about this before the show. This is a guy named Christopher Hitchens, who is a sort of intellectual, and he has got this is from 2009, and this is why I want to show you this, because listen to what he's saying. Because
okay, I know exactly who that guy is. Yeah, I've seen
everything that he says has come true. This is 2009.
Open, make it full screen.
Let me. Yeah,
there you go. You're good.
Full screen.
This is very urgent business, ladies and gentlemen. I beseech you, resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic. The term is already being introduced to the culture as if it was an accusation of race hatred, for example, or bigotry, whereas it's only the objection to the preachings of a very extreme and absolutist religion. Watch out for these symptoms. They are the symptoms of surrender, very often ecumenically offered to you by men of God in other robes, Christian and Jewish and smarmy ecumenical. These are the ones who will hold open the gates for the barbarians. The barbarians never take a city till someone holds the gates open for them. And it's your own preachers who will do it for you, and your own multicultural authorities who will do it for you. Resist it while you.
2009. Did you see the word he used? What's the word that he used? Starts with a B, finishes with a T, has a G right in the middle. That I'm being called pretty much every day. Bigot.
Oh, bigot.
That is one of the favorite
he saw it.
words used by the woke to call me whatever, to cover. If I'm a bigot, it covers everything they don't agree with.
He saw the writing on the wall and everything he's saying. And this was back when, like the Islamophobia wasn't the big scare word that it is today. He knew it was coming. And like he said, it's going to be your own leaders that are holding the door open for them. And again, like you just said, those words, those weasel words, bigot, Islamophobe, hate, xenophobe, they're used entirely just to shut down any dissent that goes against the favored identity groups. That's all it is. It's not good faith. They know that you're not a bigot or full of hate, but it's a useful way to shut down anything that goes against their favorite identity groups, and so they do it. And this is, hopefully today we've painted this picture of it's not just about prayer down on Young and Bloor. It's a real problem in our society, and we have to decide which direction we want to go. Which do we want to fight for our pluralistic and diverse society, or under the name of tolerance, do we want to allow an extremely intolerant religion and worldview to eventually dominate us? Do we want to become Lebanon? And that's the question. As society, we're going to have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves some hard questions.
I could not agree with you more. Good fucking job, Lefty. I agree with you.
Yes, 100%. Sir. Do you want to take some of these?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take some. We have a few minutes. The only thing I wanted to finish with is that I don't know if you guys heard this. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But Mark Carney in Canada is calling for an election. This morning, when I was researching it, it was just
yes.
I heard about it yesterday. I recorded a podcast with a PPC member yesterday night. He actually called it. He's like, "Hey, bro, I've been hearing that he's in Burlington, and the people in his riding going against him or had all their pamphlets already printed. They have a massive bus. They rented an actual, private plane. So he's like, something's coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if on Sunday they're calling an election. There was some rumor on CBC this morning saying, CBC, that was the case. And as we were talking, I found a post of Justin Trudeau saying, like he called it, he said that Mark Carney will be calling an election on Sunday because government is supposed to come back on Monday. So obviously he does not want to face the parliament. So he's going to devolve. He's going to dissolve parliament.
Yep.
Call an election on Sunday like a little bitch. And then they're calling it for the end of April, beginning of May, because our timeline is like 45-ish days, but there's a gap, like there's another 10-15 days you can have. But all to say that in the next couple of months in Canada, there seems that there's going to be an election. So Jason Lavigne, if you ever see that, you were wrong.
Oh yeah. But no, it was a good call. It was a good call. It's going to give us a lot of content to talk about. Certainly, just even tomorrow, probably
between him and Trump. Yeah. Between that and Trump, we're covered for the next 2 months. Trump is the next 4 years, but this is definitely for the next 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll take these last couple questions, and then we'll. And then that'll probably be it. So Rob says, "See, I said that earlier. They have a much higher birth rate and will be weeded out by 2050." And that's referring to the clip that Nico played with the guy who was saying exactly that. You guys don't have
2060 kids. In the original video, I found the 10-minute version. In the description, it says we will be outborn by 2060. So even him, you're saying 2050, he's saying 2060. You guys are pretty fucking
pretty close, yeah. But that is it is a strategy, right? That is what they are 100%. Banking on. And
they play the long game. This is what's hard for people that are not conspiracy theorists to wrap their heads around. Is people plan this shit, they see it, they play it, they plan it, and they execute over decades, not the short game like we're used to in our instant gratification world. They play the long game. That's what the thing you need to remember. By 2050, bro, I'm going to be like 75 years old, man. It's not going to be my problem at that point, but it's definitely going to be my children's problem.
Yeah. Your son's going to be what, 25?
Yeah, he's going to be in fighting shape, bro.
Yeah,
That's one thing I can guarantee you.
Well, and that's why we need to start doing things now. We need to start, codifying things into law that we don't want changed 25 years from now. Because in some ways, that dice has already been cast. I think the demographics are such that we probably will be a minority. And when I say we, I don't mean like white people. I mean Westerners, people of all races who like our society the way that it is.
This is such a good point. Like, we'll take just Carnage and we'll go back afterwards. But he's saying that Muslims are getting abortions, so they don't give a fuck. See, this is why and again, go back to what we were saying earlier. This is exactly why they will never be protesting abortions, because we're basically killing ourselves. We're murdering our own unborn. Why would they stop us?
Because their community won't allow it. They won't allow it within their community. Yeah,
man, that is so smart, Carnage. You're bang on. Why would they care?
That's a great point.
They have the woke fighting their war for them. Well, like I was saying, and this is a great. Wow, I never thought about that.
That's
blowing my mind, Carnage.
Because by avoiding a lot of these, because I mean, there's no doubt that the Muslim community is against abortion. They very
they
clearly
don't need
are.
to talk about
and yet
it.
They don't make it
the woke about it.
They don't make a political issue, and they get to make themselves seem moderate. Right? They don't seem extreme.
Tolerant. They're so tolerant.
Very tolerant.
They don't care. You damn bigot Christians, you.
But it's because within their community, it doesn't happen. They won't. I mean, I'm sure it happens, under the table, but it is not done.
They're not going to go. They're not going to fight for it, because the woke and the left and the right are already fighting about it. Why would you fight it when you can just let others fight your battle for you? And change the things from behind the scene. It's way more important for them to put police officers, politicians in place than it is to fight abortion, because we're already fighting about it.
Yes, and this way it works great. It works so good on so many levels, because they don't piss off the wokes. They don't they work within the wokes, and they convince the rest of society that they are moderate, tolerant people.
Very fucking smart.
I mean, our audience, man, they're sharp. They're fucking sharp.
Yep.
Tony G, yes, Rob, bipartisan, there to keep peace, uphold laws. That's talking about cops, how they just should be completely neutral.
Yep.
I don't want to hear 100%. It or see it, even if it's things I agree
with.
Don't want to see
matter.
It. Yep. Rob, Justin Trudeau started this narrative here by saying Christians are the worst part of Canada, setting up a push against it on the left. It's all a plan. Understand the end goal, and you see the steps they take to get there in real time. Trudeau is definitely done his. I mean, I don't recall him saying that exact thing. He very well could have, but he has absolutely done a lot to demonize, again, the non-favored identity groups. That's white people. That's straight white Christian men. It's very easy to demonize those groups because they are not favored in the woke.
But he did
hierarchy.
He did. Remember, he did. You don't remember
say that Christians are the worst part of Canada? No, I'm not saying he didn't. I don't recall it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he did.
He was more clever than that. You know what he did? Do you remember the two supposedly?
I know he said like Canada doesn't have an identity or something like that.
No, do you remember that they were saying that there were large holes in the ground? I can't remember what the name is.
Oh yeah. And in BC, out in BC, the
exactly
babies,
what the fuck is the term? That there's mass graves.
Residential
there's
schools? Mass graves.
There's mass graves under residential schools. Yet they spent millions of dollars looking for it. They found nothing. And just by pure coincidence, when that was in the news, you started seeing Christian church being burned around the country. Again, Trudeau's not an idiot. He knew what he was doing. Show somebody that's evil. And just keep on repeating, oh, see what they did, see what they did, see what they did. Look at what's going on with Tesla right now. Nobody's hating the cars. They just hate the person that's on top because the left is telling you that he's the problem. What's happening with Tesla cars everywhere?
Yeah. And you're bang on. And that mass grave thing, that was very insidious. Because if you remember, I'm sure that you do, that was everywhere in the news. It was taken as fact. It was proof. And but no one's heard that it was proved not true, right? Once it was proved not true, dead silence. And you know what's so grotesque about it? You can tell that the left wanted there to be dead babies.
Be true,
right?
Of course there is,
because it benefited their narrative. And when they found 100%. Out there was no dead babies, you would think a normal person would be relieved. Oh, thank God, there's no dead babies. They were disappointed. No. They kept it.
What else can we find?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And
I don't see Trudeau. I don't remember Trudeau coming back to the screen saying, "Oh, guys, you know what? To all the Christians out there, I apologize.
Good news, guys.
Not only are we relieved that this was not true, but I want to apologize to all you Christians." No, of course not. He would never do that. No, because now he would be. No, go for it.
I'm not a Christian. But I am infuriated by injustice when I see it.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair at the end of the day.
And it is not the way you structure your society. And it all comes down to this identity politics where we have allowed the left to separate us into good guys and bad guys based on the things we cannot control, right? Mm-hmm. The things that don't matter are fucking skin color, who we like to have sex with. That's what's centered. The things that do matter are character, our behavior. Our hopes, our dreams, that's irrelevant. And that is wrong.
Agreed.
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, Rob is saying that in England, they arrested people for praying in their heads outside of abortion clinics. Did you see that? There's a woman standing outside of an abortion clinic. The police officer. Clip. Oh, did we?
Remember the free speech episode with Jason?
Oh, bro, we record so much, and I can barely remember my wife's name. I can barely remember my wife's name sometimes, so I don't remember all the videos we've played. But yeah, all to say that you're absolutely right. Now they're being arrested in the UK for thought crimes. What I'm thinking in my head, that's
very dangerous.
Yep. Tony is saying, or went to abortion clinics. I go back to what we were saying earlier, and I completely agree. Do you remember that Toronto police had a party and hired a drag queen for their entertainment?
Yes,
I had one of my followers on Instagram send me that, and I'm like, so this is the same police, but yet see how the police officer that is recording a podcast on Toronto police premise backed by the Toronto police is not complaining about the fact that they had a drag queen dancing because it doesn't fit their agenda. They'd rather accuse me of being a xenophobe for associating Free Palestine protests with Hamas supporters. They don't care because let's let them fight their own fights while we're doing our own things behind the scene.
That's exactly right.
Man, we got some smart people here.
Do you remember when we had Chris, Billboard Chris on the show and we watched the clip?
Who's Billboard Chris again?
And we watched the show or the clip of him being literally physically assaulted. There was a giant ogre of a trans woman.
It's like me in a dress, like
he was screaming in his face, fuck you, and then he literally attacked him, and the cop was right there, and she laughed. And when Chris went to make a complaint, she was like, I didn't see nothing. And again, identity politics. Chris belonged to an unfavored identity group, and the trans person that attacked him belonged to a favored identity group. If Chris had attacked that tranny, he would have been in fucking jail still. He wouldn't have been let out.
And you know what? I asked Chris after the podcast. He's not Christian. So if you guys are wondering, Billboard Chris is not Christian. He is just a father. I thought he was doing that because of Christianity. Yeah. That was my assumption. But no, he's just the father of 2 daughters that did not want, because he realized that his daughters are the most at risk of that trans ideology. And he did not want them to. He did not want to be responsible for letting it happen. That's why he's doing what he does. Has nothing to do with Christianity. No, but you got to respect that. Like, love Billboard Chris or not, you got to respect him, and I do. I actually like him, but I also respect him.
He's a high character guy. Like, there's no
doubt about
dude. It. Yep. Rob Rourke. Yeah, man. The long game. The ones at the end of the agenda are not the same ones that started this plan. That's right. And you know what? It's not even like they have to sit down and write it out. It's their entire worldview just makes it, and everything flows from that. Once you start from this idea that everyone's born a Muslim and you are doing them a favor by converting their society to Islam, you don't need to sit down and write out the plan. The plan writes itself. Everything flows from that.
If you have a society that was born on the principle of loving others the way you love yourself, you can see how easy it is to have a religion like Muslim, like the Muslims to show up and just say they're going to tolerate me.
Yep,
no problem. But at the end of the day, you're supposed to be part of my religion, not yours. It's fucked up when you put it all together. You're just like, you understand why we're so tolerant.
Hopefully, we've sort of built the puzzle, put the puzzle together, because there's a lot of individual pieces, but when you see them all there, it becomes pretty clear. So Rob finishes.
But let's just repeat what you said before, because I think it's very important, because it's not a bashing Muslim people episode.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it needs to be put into perspective as to why is it so unfair? It is not right that we're treating different groups differently. And if we continue doing that, there will be serious consequences to what's going on.
100%.
Let's stop being hypocrites and just be constant. If there's one thing I think you and I can agree on, I will always put consistent message out there. It's always about common sense, right down the middle. What's fair for me is fair for you. Let's stick to that line.
Yeah. And if you start with that as a core value, everything else just sort of falls into place. You know what I mean? Whereas the way that the left is doing it, they're building inequities, they are building inequality, they are building division and resentment into our society, into the little cracks of society, and it pushes us apart, and it pushes us apart. And that way we're easier to control. And that is what it's all about. Prairie says, you guys need to get Frances Whittleson on. She was fired from a university in regards to the mass graves. That's a great idea. That would be a great guest, I think.
You know that guy?
No, but just anyone who was fired from the university because of that issue, especially that's become proven false. And don't get me wrong, like if there was legitimate concern that this has happened, I want them to go out and investigate it. But until you know, don't demonize people. And B, if you find out that it's fake, fucking make that your centerpiece. Make sure that we know that. Be happy.
It is not though Frances Whittleson. It is France Whittleson, as in FRANCES, France.
Okay. Oh, Frances.
I just found her. Frances.
Yeah.
Frances.
Yeah. We should. Frances. Yeah, let's reach out, see if she wants to come on. Rob says the Muslims sure care when the left went after the kids with gender identity and LGBTQ ideology, though. Yeah, in the UK they did, and you know what's funny? Do you remember what happened? They immediately got accommodations. They immediately were like, okay, yeah, no, that's fair. Whereas if it was Christian parents who went in there, they would be called homophobic. They would be called transphobic. They would be called bigoted. And it's, again, because Muslims are in a favored identity group. They are given privileges that Christians are not, which is fucked up because we are still a Christian society. Prairie says a few places
coming from the non-Christian guy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I just want to see. I want to see equality. I just want to see consistency. I'm right there with you on that. I just think, I don't need to be a Christian to be angry at what is obviously injustice. You know what I mean? It doesn't. At the end, you hear all the time people like, "Oh, why do you care? Why do you care?" Well, it's care because I live in the society, and I want to live in a society where the dignity of human beings is respected, and we are all treated as equals. Maybe we will never get there, but that should be the ideal. That should be the one that we aspire to. A few places in Manitoba have been searched, finding nothing in regards to buried children at that residential school. Now it's like they're really hoping to find those bodies, and there's something very grotesque about that. Rob says, he said Canada was a post-national state. Yeah, I absolutely remember that. Basically saying we have no identity. And that's what's so funny. And now you're surprised when a large chunk of people want to leave, want to become American, why a lot of people in Alberta don't want to be part of it. Of course we have an identity, but how can you be surprised when you tell us that we don't? And you know what he really means? He really means we have no Christian identity. He's basically demonizing the identity that we do have in hopes that, the favored ones will rise to the top. He'd love it if we had a trans identity, if we had a Muslim identity.
Now you're bang on. By him saying that we have no identity opens the door to create a new one.
Yes, and that's exactly it. What he means is he doesn't like the identity that we have.
Ding, 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 ding. Winner,
Prairie.
Chicken dinner for Robert.
Prairie. Yes, that's her, Nico. Damn phone spelling. And Monsieur Memorino. Oh, Rob. Prairie was just saying.
Oh, damn phones. Yeah.
The correction.
Sure. Blame your phone. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, Memorino, but I will take it as good.
Rob,
I will take it as good.
To me, all it meant is that you look pretty gay.
Yeah, nah.
That's how I see it. He's like, "Oh, Rob, stop it." That's how I see it. I'm sure it's not, but that's how I choose.
On that note, we'll end with a joke. I got a joke. What does a gay horse eat?
Cocks.
Hey. Hey.
Love it. Love
really
it. It's such a dad joke. I love it.
Classic dad joke.
Good job, bro. Good job.
Guys, we want to thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you have enjoyed it being here. Again, ton of comments. You guys, you make the show for us. You could have been anywhere in the world today, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate that. Nico, you want to send us off?
Man, I actually like what you just said. That was good. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. The only thing I would add to this is if you could get a little tear,
I'll touch
just a single teardrop coming down. But no, guys, thank you for being here. You have no idea how much we love doing this. This takes a shit ton of our time to get ready for this, to put the show together, edit it, put it out there afterwards. But we appreciate you being here. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we're growing. We're steadily growing and growing and growing. Like the views are going higher and higher every single time. So it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you guys with all your awesome comment. And I'm really impressed how smart our audience is, because I'm going to take a bit of the credit for this. Right, that means that between the two of us, we seem to be intelligent. We might be at least intelligent,
a little bit
enough.
Between the two of us, we can have one intelligent person.
We make one intelligent person. But at the end of the day, we're so happy that you're here. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow.